This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. We begin with Senate Democrats blocking the passage of the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act. That happened Monday evening. The vote follows a series of state measures around the country where Democrats have removed all restrictions on abortion. The Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act would have threatened prison time for doctors who did not try to save the life of a baby born during a failed abortion. Pro-life leaders condemned that failed vote. One Republican senator saying it is not about limiting abortion, but saving the life of a child who survives abortion against all odds. President Donald Trump called it shocking. He tweeted, "The Democrat position on abortion is so extreme, they don't mind executing babies after birth." Republican Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska sponsored the bill and said he was surprised by every vote against the bill. He said, "I want to ask each and every one of my colleagues whether they're okay with infanticide." Joining us now from the Family Research Council is Patrina Mosley. So Patrina, with this measure failing, what do you think the next step is going to be for pro-life leaders and lawmakers?
Well, I hope the next step will be to make a vote on this for Democrats and Republicans to come together to show, like they did in 2003, that they are not for letting babies die on the table. I mean, this is a line that you would think would be uncrossable here in America. And we shouldn't even have to have a bill to say that it's not okay to kill someone once they're born out of the womb. But that's as far as the Democrats have been willing to take it. Ever since New York and Governor Ralph Northam here in Virginia have stepped out and seem to have endorsed infanticide, it seems like this infection has become an epidemic in the entire party.
How is it already not illegal to allow a child to be, if born alive, to be killed, and how are lawmakers overlooking this and not considering it murder?
Well, that is a great question. That's what a lot of people, a lot of Americans are trying to wrap their minds around. But this is what happens, unfortunately, when you become a pro-choice nation. That essentially, if we were going to have an honest debate about this, an honest conversation about what abortion is, logically, it is the murder of an infant. And we've enjoyed for 46 years now this cognitive dissonance of it's not a baby, it's not a body in the womb, it's a woman's choice rather. But now that we see that a baby can clearly be born and on the table, the question still remains, well, is it a baby or is it still a choice? And that's the question that Americans have answered already in numerous polling that's been out. They are not in favor of late-term abortion. They're not in favor of infanticide. But it seems like once we've crossed that line of just being a pro-choice nation in the first place, that this has become the next battle to fight.
What are other ways that pro-life lawmakers are working to protect babies and the unborn right now?
Well, right now we have the Child Welfare Providers Adoption Act that's been going through. We're really excited and proud of that bill, which actually helps families in America to adopt more easily and to have more children that they can have access to adopt more accessibly. So we're excited about that. Congresswoman Roby was here just a few hours ago to talk about all the different pro-life bills that she's been able to put up, such as defunding Planned Parenthood, Conception Rights Act, at the moment of conception, that we are protecting life there. Heartbeat bills that are going and moving across the state, and also dismemberment bans that are going across the states as well, to say that we know that at 20 weeks, that science says that a baby can feel pain. Can we at least come to a consensus that it's not okay to kill a child there at 20 weeks? So those types of bills are still moving, and we're very happy with those. And those are steps that are coinciding with each other at this time.
All right, Patrina Mosley of the Family Research Council, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We'll have more on the bill and the latest from Washington tonight on CBN's Faith Nation. That is only on the CBN News channel. Be sure to join us for that. Democrats are still working to try to roll back President Donald Trump's declaration of a national emergency over the border crisis. A vote today in the House aims to revoke President Trump's executive order from earlier this month. Democratic leaders say the president is trampling on the Constitution by grabbing money that he can't obtain through normal means.
But this isn't about the border. This is about the Constitution of the United States. This is not about politics. It's not about partisanship. It's about patriotism. And so, again, once we pass this resolution, we will send it over to the Senate. all members, as I say, have taken the oath of office. We would be delinquent in our duties if we did not resist, we did not fight back and to overturn the president's declaration.
The legislation is expected to clear the House. The Senate then has 18 days to vote on it. This week, the Supreme Court hears arguments in a crucial religious liberty case. It deals with the Peace Cross, a World War I veterans memorial in Bladensburg, Maryland. Critics call it unconstitutional because of its shape. Defenders point out crosses mark most graves of those killed in the conflict known as the War to End All Wars. As Paul Strand now reports, this takes on greater importance because if the court eventually decides the cross has to go, it could affect thousands of others.
Moms of 49 Bladensburg area soldiers killed in World War I designed the Peace Cross in memory of their sons. Here, 100 years later, the legal team defending the cross, which is now on public land, believe this could be the most crucial religious liberty case the Supreme Court handles this term. It could put an end to judges and bureaucrats deciding if a religious symbol or display is too religious or secular enough.
This area of the law is just leading to absurd results. It's leading to city councilmen having to go out there with rulers to make sure that they have enough reindeer around a nativity scene to make sure that it is secular enough of a display.
Jeremy Dice's team hopes the court agrees if a symbol or display doesn't force people to accept religion, it isn't too religious.
A passive monument isn't forcing you to do anything. This monument in particular is just there to remember 49 men who died defending our freedom.
Maryland's governor took to Facebook to defend it.
This monument was never meant to be a religious object. It was to honor our veterans, which we're going to fight to protect.
But a team of atheists, humanists, and secularists object that the Peace Cross is on government land and maintained by the state.
The government on this piece of property is favoring a religion with this huge symbol that when you come across the bridge or approach it from any of the highways, you see nothing but this huge Christian cross.
Renee Green talked to Lowe and other opponents of the cross for her documentary, Save the Peace Cross.
It gives the impression of Christianity and nothing else, and it gives the impression of government endorsement of Christianity.
In the suit against the cross, one atheist said he was traumatized driving by it. Green appears in her documentary to point out that many telephone poles are in the shape of a cross.
If the plaintiffs win this lawsuit, will all the telephone poles need to be modified? I just hope that they are not traumatized by telephone poles while driving.
But all humor aside, this case has serious implications. Symbols like the Ten Commandments and Nativity have both won and lost in various courts. Now one of the world's most beloved symbols, the cross, is on the line.
The Supreme Court of the United States is the last best hope for this memorial.
Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Bladensburg, Maryland.
Paul Strand talks more about the religious liberty case today on CBN's Daily Rundown podcast. You can find the podcast at cbnnews.com. On the show tab, click on the title to listen and to subscribe. We'll also have more on this story on tomorrow's CBN NewsWatch. Clashes erupted at the Colombian border with Venezuela again Monday. Venezuelan security forces and Venezuelan migrants could be seen along the border clashing, with tear gas being used to disperse the small crowd. These new clashes come as Venezuela's opposition leader Juan Guaido and Vice President Mike Pence met to discuss the crisis. Guaido wanting assurances the U.S. will use force if necessary. Vice President Pence said force is an option, but the U.S. hopes for better.
In the days and weeks ahead, the United States will continue to deliver life-saving food for the hungry, medicine for the desperately ill, and shelter for those displaced by the brutality and deprivation of the regime. And while we stand with the Venezuelan people, we will also continue to stand up to all of those who would oppress them.
The U.S. has asked the United Nations Security Council to meet today to discuss the situation. Both President Donald Trump and North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un have arrived in Vietnam for their planned second summit. President Trump aims at getting Kim to give up nuclear weapons in exchange for relief from sanctions and better relations with the U.S. and other nations. The leaders will be having a private dinner tomorrow evening ahead of the discussions on Thursday. The two hope to build an agreement they made at their first historic meeting in Singapore back in June. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo also arrived in Vietnam. He is meeting with Vietnam's foreign minister and deputy prime minister. Australia's most senior Catholic cleric ever charged with child sex abuse has been convicted of molesting 2 choir boys. The jury convicted Cardinal George Pell of abusing two boys whom he had caught swigging Sacramento wine in the rear room of Melbourne's St. Patrick's Cathedral in late 1996. The boys were both 13 years old. Pell, Pope Francis' top financial advisor and the Vatican's economy minister, faces a potential maximum 50-year prison term after a sentencing hearing that begins tomorrow. The Archbishop of Brisbane, Mark Coldridge, said that Australian bishops had been shocked at that ruling.
The news of Cardinal George Pell's conviction on historical child sexual abuse charges has shocked many across Australia and around the world, including the Catholic bishops of Australia. The bishops agree that everyone should be equal under the law, and we respect the Australian legal system. The same legal system that delivered the verdict will now consider the appeal that the Cardinal's legal team has lodged. Our hope at all times is that through this process, justice will be served. In the meantime, we pray for all those who have been abused and for their loved ones. And we commit ourselves anew to doing everything possible to ensure that the Church is a safe place for all, especially the young and the vulnerable. Thank you.
Pell has lodged an appeal against the convictions. Coming up, how people with autoimmune disorders can live a fuller and healthier life. Stay with us.
CBN presents The I Wills of God, your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
We're going to talk about some of the incredible promises God has made to His children.
In Pat Robertson's newest teaching, you'll discover the I Wills of God. I will rescue him, protect him, answer him, be with him in trouble, deliver him, honor him, satisfy him with long life, show him my salvation, and see amazing stories of God's promises in action.
What I felt was loved and treasured.
God spared my life twice in 3 days.
The good Lord had given me a second chance.
Break free from stress and despair.
The Lord doesn't want you to live in fear, but to know the rewards given to those who love God.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com. The I Wills of God, your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphan's Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Millions of Americans suffer from autoimmune disease. A new treatment proving successful for many involves repairing the gut. CBN's health reporter Lori Johnson joins us now to explain. So, Lori, we know that you had the Build a Better Gut series and you talked about that. Is that what people are doing with autoimmune deficiencies to heal themselves?
Well, yes and no. The first step is to put the right good bacteria back in the gut. But many people with autoimmune diseases need to take it a step further. They have a leaky gut, which, as the name suggests, means their gut lining has big holes in it. And the way to fix that is by consuming collagen. Dr. Josh Axe, who has the #1 natural health website, says people who have a leaky gut, and frankly everyone else too, should be consuming collagen.
Collagen is what makes up a lot of our body. In fact, 30% of all the protein in our body is collagen. And so probably 1/3 of our protein intake should come from collagen, yet most people are getting 0. And collagen makes up 90% of our skin, hair, nails, bones, discs, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, fascia, gut lining, arterial walls. All of those areas are made up of collagen, and if we're not supplementing with collagen, our health can really suffer because of it.
So in addition to all the other supplements we should be taking, Ephraim, and I'm talking about vitamin D, we should all be taking that, and a probiotic, and omega-3 fish oil. We should really start taking collagen.
How do we supplement collagen? How do you take that?
Well, there are lots of different ways. There are wonderful supplements on the market. Josh Axe, his brand is called Ancient Nutrition, and I know Josh Axe. He's a strong Christian man, and I can vouch, even though I don't get any kind of money for it, his products are fantastic, and he has some powdered collagen products, and on his website, which is drash.com, also supplements. But what I like to do, and what a lot of people like to do, is consume bone broth. Bone broth has wonderful collagen in it. You can make it for practically free. If you want the recipe, you can go to our website, cbnnews.com, and there's a demonstration of me making bone broth, or you can buy bone broth at the store. So there are lots of different ways to get collagen. Just make sure you get it.
All right. Now, I know you also talked to him about the keto diet and the ways to lose weight. How does the keto diet work?
Well, the keto diet is wonderful, and actually he says, and I have noticed this from people in my own life, that it's the best way to lose weight. It's the fastest way to lose weight. It is the best way for people who are obese and have food addictions and love to eat. It's great for them to lose weight because it's 80% fat, 70 to 80% fat. And a lot of people think that the keto diet is a high protein diet, all kinds of bacon and cheese, it's a high fat diet. So you have to make sure to eat those good fats, not the bad ones, not the trans fats or the margarines and things like that. But and he has a new book out called The Keto Diet, and we really go into detail about the keto diet on my show, Healthy Living, which airs tonight at 9:30.
Indeed, indeed. So you can watch the entire interview with Dr. Josh Axe on Healthy Living, and as Lori said, it's at 9:30 this evening on the CBN News Channel. Still ahead, bitter cold sweeping across parts of the United States. A look at what we can expect as we enter the final weeks of winter.
Parents, the Superbook Bible app is a great way to get your child reading the Bible, because in today's busy world, we can use some help. The free Superbook Bible app has fun stuff your kids will love. They'll have a blast learning the Bible, playing great games, watching cool videos, discovering heroes in the Bible. They'll have fun while they learn God's Word. The Superbook Kids Bible app, available now.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Discover the I wills of God. I will rescue him, protect him, answer him, be with him in trouble, deliver him, honor him, satisfy him with long life, show him my salvation.
What I felt was loved and treasured.
God spared my life twice in 3 days.
The good Lord had given me a second chance.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com. The I wills of God, the latest teaching from Pat Robertson.
Dangerous cold is again gripping the upper Midwest following a deadly blizzard. Well, on Monday, bitter cold and snow forced dozens of schools to close in 4 states. Low temperatures and strong wind made it feel like the -40s in parts of northern North Dakota and northern Minnesota. Meteorologists say the cold is expected to linger for the first couple of weeks of March. Transportation officials are warning of poor driving conditions as a result of the storm. Joe Bastardi is the chief meteorologist for Weather Bell Analytics. He joins us now with more. So, Joe, it's been a brutal winter for much of the U.S. Where is this cold coming from?
Well, it's part of an overall pattern that we were looking at, believe it or not, back in the summer. The bust, if you want to call it, in our forecast was that it didn't center itself further south and east. The usual case with the El Nino type very cold winters. You see that in the southeast part of the United States is actually colder relative to averages and further north and west. This is very much like 1951, 1952. That El Nino winter was one that stuck out like a sore thumb. It had the opposite look to the rest of the El Nino winters, and it came along again this year and actually fooled me as far as where the core of the cold was going to be. That being said, since mid-February, this crescendo of cold has been pushing southeastward, and it is going to invade the eastern part of the United States next week. From Virginia southward into Florida and back toward Louisiana, places that have been protected. And the folks in the plains, back to back, there are going to be some places centered in Nebraska, I would say, that could have one of the coldest February/March periods that they've seen since the late 1970s. So that's where the cold is going to really, really be very, very extreme. You're going to see a week of temperatures 30 to 40 degrees below normal, which would be normal for, let's say, central Canada in the middle of winter. That's how cold the air mass is over the central part of the United States. We called it Cold-mageddon back in January. This is Cold March-geddon, I guess, if you want to call it that.
So what can people expect as we get closer to spring and summer?
Well, we're going to pull out of this slowly in the plains and in the west, relatively speaking. You got to remember that when you get a situation like this where the temperatures are so far below normal, you lose track that the normals are coming up. This year's sudden snap to spring may be over the northern plains late in March and on into April, where you go from this very, very deep cold to temperatures above normal. And since you had January cold into March, all of a sudden you're into temperatures like May and June. It's a very, very pronounced snap. We saw that last year between April and May. We had the very stormy March and the cold April last year. So these things are all part of the back and forth that's taken place. The origin of all this is a couple of months ago in the Pacific Ocean with certain things that went on in the tropical Pacific. They manifest themselves in what we call a stratospheric warming event. When that happens, a lot of cold sets up in Canada, and any excuse you could get, it comes into the United States.
Real quick, Joe, does a colder winter mean a hotter summer?
Well, there's some correlation with that on occasion. It depends on the weather pattern. That the atmosphere is never average, or is very rarely is. We see all this stuff with the climate yelling and screaming about, well, look what's going on with the weather. The weather usually goes from one extreme to another. It's very rare that you have what they call a normal day. So I think we're going to see a summer similar to last year in that it may not be the very, very hot days. It may be that the nights are warmer than normal, and that has to do with the warmth of the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic and the Pacific. The oceans are in a warm cycle right now, so it tends to hold nighttime temperatures up. But we've seen no real increase in daytime maxes across the United States. As a matter of fact, the summers in the 1930s, if I did not actually go back and study all those, I don't even believe they could have happened. It was so hot. So I don't think we're going to see that kind of heat this summer.
All right, Joe, thank you so much for your time. Much appreciated.
Thank you for having me.
After the break, how Tim Tebow's new movie ranked during the opening weekend. Stay with us.
When you give, smiles grow bigger. When you care, homes are happier. When you comfort, the hurt goes away. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphan's Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now. It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
And welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. Turning now to the entertainment world, we're happy to report Tim Tebow's first bat as a movie producer has landed in the top 10 at the box office in opening weekend. Run the Race earned more than $2 million, and it finished at number 10. That even means that it beat the Oscar-winning film Green Book, which finished this week at number 11. Run the Race tells the story of 2 brothers who are facing challenges and some major tragedy. That tragedy puts the weight of the world on their shoulders, and Tim Tebow says it's a story of learning what we have to hold on to that can't be shaken in the face of loss, and learning who we are and whose we are. He served as executive producer on the film alongside his brother, Robbie, their first bat at entertainment. Well, that is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can always find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. Also, a reminder, you can contact us anytime by emailing newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Goodbye, everybody, and God bless.